Get in a car accident tomorrow. You survive, but you can't speak and you can't make a single medical decision for yourself. Someone in your life is going to have to make those decisions for you. Does that person know what you would want? Do you even know who that person would be? If you're like most adults here, the honest answer may be no. And there's a pretty big gap between thinking this is important and actually doing something about it. A 2024 study by Young and colleagues published in the American Journal of Hospice and Palliative Medicine entitled Unveiling the Influencers found that only 36% of the adults surveyed had completed an advance directive, even though 76% said they believe advance directives were important. So this isn't something to think about someday when we're older or sick. It's something for every adult listening right now, including the youngest person here. As a nurse working in a nursing home, I regularly admit residents who can no longer make their own medical decisions. I've seen how difficult things became for families when those wishes were never documented. That's why I believe that every adult should complete a written advance directive, not just the elderly or the seriously ill. I'm going to show you why this is a real problem, how simple the solution can be, and why having those wishes in writing can mean for your family. Let me start by showing you why this problem is bigger than most people realize. For me, this became personal because of my grandmother. She was healthy and strong most of her life, and she talked openly about what she wanted. She didn't want a feeding tube. She didn't want to be kept alive on a machine. Our family knew she had said those things, but she never put them in writing. And when that day came, her children kept her on life support. Not because they didn't love her. I think it was because they loved her so much that without something in writing, letting go became almost impossible. And my family isn't unusual. A 2023 review in the Journal of Palliative Care by Rogers and Lopez, called Systematic Review Revisited, found that most family members who make medical decisions for someone else experience emotional distress. And one of the biggest reasons is not knowing what that person would have wanted. That's the part we don't think about when we say, oh, I'll do it later. Because the decision doesn't disappear when you don't write it down. It moves to someone who you love. And this isn't just an issue for older adults. A 2023 study by Stone, Peer, and Young in the American Journal of Hospice and Palliative Medicine, titled Exploring 5 Wishes and End-of-Life Care Planning in Young Adults, found that 63% of adults surveyed said they would not want life support after permanent brain damage with no expectation of recovery. So they have answers. Nobody have written them down. Being young doesn't mean those decisions doesn't apply to us. Now that you see how real this gap is, let me show you how easy it actually is to close it. An advance directive sounds complicated, but what it pretty much is pretty straightforward. First, you choose someone you trust and make medical decisions for you if you can't make them for yourself. Second, you document the medical care you would or wouldn't want. That can include CPR, a ventilator, a feeding tube, and other life-sustainable treatments. And having one doesn't mean somebody else controls your health care. As long as you can make your own decision, you stay in control. The document is there for a time when you can no longer speak for yourself. Now, I understand why people put this off. Nobody wakes up on a Saturday morning thinking, you know what sounds fun today? Paperwork about my own mortality. But getting started is easier than most people think. Care and Info, a program of National Alliance for Care at Home, explains in its 2024 guidance what is an advance directive. That you don't need an attorney and that free forms are available for every state. So you don't have to wait for a diagnosis. You don't have to wait until you're older. You can make these decisions while they're still yours to make. And that's the one decision can completely change what a difficult day look like for the people you love. So let me take you back to my grandmother one more time. Picture that same day, except for one difference. This time, her wishes are already in writing. Her children aren't standing there trying to decide whether letting her go is what she really wanted. She already decided. They get to be her children that day. They get to grieve, instead of carrying the weight of a decision that was never supposed to be theirs. The document wouldn't have saved her life, but it would have put that decision back where it belonged, with her. A 2005 systematic review by Tuscany and colleagues, published in Curis, entitled Effect of Advanced Care Planning on the Mental Health of Bereaved Family, examined 12 randomized controlled trials. Several of those trials found that when family had those conversations ahead of time, the family members left beside had less depression and less anxiety. So stop picturing my grandmother and picture yours, or your mother, or your father. If nothing is written down, the person who loved you is standing in a hallway trying to remember something you said once. If it's written down, they already know. That's what you're giving them, not paperwork, permission to just love you that day. Spoken wishes weren't enough to protect my grandmother's children from having to guess. And that's exactly why writing those wishes down matters. I first showed you why the gap between what we believe and what we've actually done is a real problem. Then I showed you how simple the solution is. And finally, I showed you what it can mean for a family when those wishes are already in writing. Now, you've probably noticed this empty chair beside me. Even though I haven't said a word about it until now, one day, someone you love could be sitting right here, making decisions for you because you can't speak for yourself. Who would speak for you? An advanced directive can't take away the sadness of that day, but it can take away this uncertainty. Before I finish, I want you to do one thing right now. Grab whatever you can write on. And write down one name, the person you would want making your medical decision if you couldn't make them yourself. You just make the decision. You just made the decision. You know who that person is. Now, the only thing left is putting it in writing. The code on the screen will take you to a state advanced directive form where you can name that person officially, because that one name is the difference between the person in that chair knowing and the person in that chair guessing. Thank you.